Hey everyone, I hope you're keeping well. So in this video I'll be showing you how I scan my film on the Epson v500. Now this is kind of a follow-up video to an original video I put out when I first started actually doing film photography videos. And that video was a whole mess, so hopefully this is more concise and more interesting and more helpful. So before you turn your scanner on or load up the software or anything, make sure that you have your film in a film holder. Hopefully you've got one that comes with a scanner. If not, they're pretty easy to find. Make sure you've got one of these as well, and you just use that on the film, use that on a scanner, go crazy, make sure there's little to no dust marks there, and then you're good to go. So the Epson scan software is the software I'll be using to show you how to do this, and it's the software I use constantly. I don't really use ViewScan or Negative Lab Pro currently because I don't really see the need for me to spend the money when I'm perfectly happy with Epson Scan at the moment. So if you don't have the Epson Scan software, there's a link in the description for you to download it. It's a bit of a pain to find, but I've put it there for you. So you want to open Epson Scan up. Apologies for my random desktop backgrounds. I have had to hide my entire the entire desktop icons all over my screen because I haven't changed this in about 3 years. But anyway, now the Epson Scan software is loaded up. So the first thing you want to do once it's open is put the document type to film. Make sure in your scanner as well that you don't have the this thing. You don't have that in the top. Take this thing off, and then it will reveal another scanner element, and then you're good to go with scanning film. If you're scanning documents, you can put that back in and then change that to reflective. Now for film type, you want to put it to color negative film if you're doing color negative film, positive film if you're doing positive film. Black and white negative film, you can just select it to color if you want. It doesn't really make much difference. So yeah, whatever you want to do. Now for image type, you just want to select 48-bit color. It's just going to give you the most accurate and nicest colors possible. It's what I do with mine. And DPI, I have it set to 4800. It's a bit overkill. It's especially overkill for 35. I would not recommend doing that for 35, maybe like 24 to 32. I just do a lot of medium format and I just want to have it scanned pretty high, so if I need to print it, then I can print it. But yeah, 24 to 32 is generally pretty good, and then 48 if you're a bit of a freak. I do not know why you would need to go over that, but right, so before you do anything else, you want to hit preview. If you have 35mm film, you can select thumbnail and it will kind of crop each image for you. I wouldn't recommend that because it doesn't always do a great job with the crop. I would leave it unticked, but give it a go and see what you think. So you want to hit preview there and it should scan. So the preview scan isn't the full resolution, it's a lower resolution, which is why it doesn't take as long. But yeah, it should take about 15 seconds. But there we go. So I've got two images in here, medium format images that I put on the medium format film holder. Will you be quiet for a sec? Thank you. So if it's 35, it will be the exact same thing for you, so don't worry. All you want to do now is just do a very rough crop around the edge of the image. You want to edit first. It just needs to be rough at the moment, it doesn't matter too much. Then click zoom to zoom into the image. Now that you've zoomed in, you can do a little bit more cropping, but I wouldn't recommend doing too much because you can just do the rest in Lightroom afterwards. There we go. So that's kind of a good enough crop for me. I don't actually know how you can rotate these images. I've always just, it's just a scan, so I don't need to see it at the right orientation. But yeah, at the moment it's showing you with the auto on, which I think is great because it shows you generally how your image might look, but this is not how you're going to scan it. So you want to go to the Histogram Adjustment button, so it's the second one along. And before doing anything, this is something I forget a lot and a lot of people forget, is make sure you set your black levels correctly. So blacks need to be at 0, whites need to be at 255, and that's going to make sure that you have all of the dynamic range that the film was captured. So then you want to head down to the red section, don't bother with this section just yet. And then you want to slide the blacks down to the very bottom of this histogram here and the whites to the very top, wherever it shows for you. Occasionally you might get the odd little bit pop up here in one of the sections that doesn't pop up in the others. You can maybe ignore that, but generally just, yeah, this is the kind of thing you need to do and it needs to look like, and then obviously repeating it for the greens and the blues. Alrighty, so I've done all of that with the greens, blues and reds now. The next thing that I will generally do is flatten the image a bit more, so I'll be raising the midtones. I think this is called the midtones in this software. Raising this just a bit more to make it even more flat, because the thing that you do and the thing that I do now is I edit the contrast, I edit the shadows and everything else in Lightroom. So this is just for the purpose of scanning it, so it's got as much detail as possible and I can easily edit it without, you know, it crushing the blacks or the whites for me. So yeah, so the auto mode basically just raises everything and just makes it like a usable image, which isn't great because it means that the file then has that all embedded in it and you can't really edit it any other way. So generally what I do and what I recommend you should do is just make the image nice and flat, nice and color balanced as I showed you just there, and then you can edit the rest in Lightroom. So I'm just going to compare this to the original scan I did just to make sure that I'm still on the right track. Yep, so it looks about the same. So yeah, I have done the same things. If you want a comparison of what it looks like when it's edited, here you go. So as you can see there in Lightroom, I just adjusted the shadows a bit, maybe the contrast a tiny bit, and then warmed it up, as you can see from here, warmed up a little bit. But this is what I would be dealing with straight out of the scanner once I've scanned it. So now you want to make sure the target size is set to original, just so it's as high quality as possible and it's not trying to resize it to like A3 or something. Then you want to make sure that unsharp mask is unticked. I would not recommend using this in this software. If you want to sharpen your images, do it in Lightroom. It's so much better. And also, if you're scanning 35mm on this scanner, you absolutely need to sharpen it in Lightroom because it's just not sharp enough, because it's not really a 35 kind of scanner. It's a flatbed, so it's more for kind of medium format and stuff like that, but it's good enough for me for 35, and hopefully it's good enough for you for 35. You just need to apply a lot of sharpening in Lightroom. So then we've got grain reduction, color restoration, backlight correction and dust removal. I would untick all of those, they're not helpful, yeah, in my opinion. And then digital ice technology is something that you can choose to have on, but I choose not to have it on just because it takes ages to scan with it on, and I can just remove it with Photoshop with the clone stamp tool. So yeah, that's pretty much all the settings you'll need for color film. If you're doing black and white film, the process is exactly the same. You do the same with the histograms and all of that, so it's not different at all. So hopefully that's simple for you. All you want to do now is hit scan. Make sure it's set to TIFF. If you know digital photography, you know what RAW means, and RAW files mean you can edit them loads. TIFF is basically like uncompressed. It means you can edit it and it's as high quality as possible. If you didn't want to edit your photos in Lightroom and perhaps you're happy with the result of the image straight out of the software, again, I wouldn't recommend it. Then you can maybe export to JPEG if you don't need a TIFF file. So you can also set it to go to a particular folder. I set it to a folder every time I have a project, and it's on an external SSD because photos from this scanner, especially at 4800 DPI, take up quite a bit of space. I think I'm on like 100 gigabytes of photos at the moment. It's ridiculous, but there. But yeah, hopefully that was concise. Hopefully it helped you out a bit, explained how to kind of do it with this software. If you're interested in the process of how I edit my photos in Lightroom, please comment below and I'll be sure to do a video on it, but I thought I'd just keep this one fairly shortish. Anyway, before I go, if you're looking to buy film in the UK or in Europe now, I do have an online film store that I'm doing at the moment as a passion project. It's a load of fun. Pretty much all of you that have seen my videos will know about it because I gotta plug it occasionally. I've got a whole video about how I did it and started up as well, but just in case you want to buy some film and there's any film on there that you like, please feel free to place an order. So that's all for the video today. I'll see you in the next one.